Miss Yashodha Hettiarachchi from the Department of Paediatrics, Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo. She is a lecturer, speech therapist, and a child psychologist who works at the professorial unit of Lady Ridgeway Hospital for Children. And she will be speaking about her experiences with the clinical rehabilitation related to children having Down syndrome. Over to you, Miss Yashodha.
Thanks, Ravi. I hope you can hear me. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I want to thank the Clinical Society of the University of Colombo for inviting me to this month's Med Talk. And I'm very honored to be sharing this session with Dr. Miranda Hemalatha. I'd begin this by saying that although it's not a good thing for a clinician to have favorites, there's something special about these kids with Down syndrome that makes it easier for us to fall in love with them. So it feels wonderful to be able to talk about empowering them on their day. As the topic implies, I will briefly share with you about what happens in our clinic, where we get together as a team to ensure that the family's journey from the clinic to the community would become less of a struggle. Okay, so let me share my screen. So it all starts with the empowerment of the parents and the family. The diagnosis of Down syndrome is usually made at birth, and nowadays prenatal screening is also common. So sometimes when we meet the parents, they have already received counseling and they are a little more prepared. After confirming the diagnosis, the pediatrician discusses the specific findings along with the following potential clinical features of the syndrome. It is important that we convey hope, possibilities, and the uniqueness of this child's development. And also, if there's a serious medical complication, definitely it will become a medical priority. We also discussed the current community care philosophy of the country and access to quality health care, inclusive education programs, and about the growing awareness and acceptance by the society. We start early intervention from the first visit and facilitate them to talk to other parents, which anyway happens with or without our involvement. And if there are socioeconomic issues that hinder the intervention plans, there comes in our instructors in social services who will guide the families to access available facilities. A question these parents often ask and keep asking us is, will the face change? So we need to be very, very sensitive to these questions and keep explaining the reality. Patience and empathy become our core values. Before moving ahead, I want to share with you another very important discussion that I have with parents, that is siblings. If the sibling is a teenager or an adult, then he or she naturally becomes a parent figure for the child. But if the child is very young, we should consider about the negative impact of the parents' preoccupation with the new baby. Frequent hospital visits, therapy at home. This won't be a pleasant experience for a little one who maybe wanted a playmate. So including the siblings in the process and letting them know that how important their strengths are for the development of the baby work like magic. Then we come to our mantra, early intervention. In early intervention, we identify and assess the child as early as possible and provide appropriate intervention to improve the long-term functional outcomes for the child and the family. I will not be listing out each and every professional involved in this team because there could be different issues in each child other than developmental delay, and they are referred to the specialists for medical management. So very simply put, in early intervention, we observe and monitor the child's development, give accurate information to the parents, and we make appropriate referrals by establishing who the key workers will be for medical and therapeutic management. And then we develop suitable intervention strategies to improve these skills. More than one of these aspects would be challenge in a child with Down syndrome. It is of utmost importance to listen to and understand the parents' goals, then discuss the possibilities with them throughout. Intervention should be planned in a way that the activities we give could be done in their natural environment as well, because there's no use of an intervention plan that will not be implemented at home. This is why we need to be aware of the situation of the family, their strengths and the limitations, so that we can modify the intervention plans accordingly. Before going into delays in other aspects, I want to talk about feeding, because it is one of the first issues that will need immediate intervention. So most of the time, what interferes with breastfeeding is hypotonia of the oral musculature. There may be latching problems due to poor lip seal and other issues. So feeding tends to take longer. We may see issues in sucking, loss of energy while breastfeeding. So going by our exclusive breastfeeding program, what we do is we always encourage parents to combine breastfeeding with cup feeds with express breast milk, so that the child's nutrition and hydration are not compromised. And we emphasize the importance of the attachment between the mother and the baby. Frequent monitoring is very important, because there could be persisting orosensory motor issues and sometimes, swallowing disorders. And also the psychological status of the mother can majorly affect the feeding relationship. If an atypical pattern is developed in between those, first and second visit, it will be very hard for us to break it afterwards. So when we detect a problem, we should intervene immediately and then schedule the second visit also as early as possible. The transitioning from breastfeeding to complementary feeds is also very important, because if we don't guide them to do the right thing at the right time, we will have to struggle for a prolonged period to achieve certain milestones. That is, that applies to all the other skills as well. And that is why some of our interventions are mostly anticipatory rather than consequential. So as the child grows up, what we all know is they generally develop at a slower rate than typically developing children, and also have a different pattern of developing. What gets affected are, when it comes to these developmental characteristics, delays in more than one of these areas could be seen: cognitive development, motor skills, communication skills, social and self-help skills. And also there could be coexistence of other developmental disorders, mental health issues, behavioral conditions. And I'll quickly jump into motor skills. Motor skills are, we all know that motor skills are extremely important for an individual, not only because it's a major part of their development, but also delays in achieving these skills will interfere with the child's initiation of movements, participation, and problem solving in the community. So early referrals for physiotherapy and occupational therapy will make a huge difference, as they are the team taking care of the child's gross motor, fine motor development, postural control, reflexes, reactions, sensory processing, skills like that. And then we go to one of the most important aspects, cognitive development, because it is like the key to all the other areas of development. The components that we mostly focus on are attention, memory, reasoning, problem solving, exploration. While these kids are likely to be developmentally behind typically developing children of the same age, most children with Down syndrome learn and grow intellectually, especially when they are provided with learning opportunities that stimulate their cognition. So evaluating cognitive skills in these kids in an early stage will help us to plan appropriate interventions, and then it will also provide us a baseline for measuring progress. Then comes my area, speech and language development. What we observe usually is the early vocal development of babies with Down syndrome and typically developing babies tends to be fairly similar. However, differences begin to appear by approximately 6 to 8 months when when babbling appears. So these babies typically do not develop this type of babbling until later. And it's very normal for parents to feel frustrated. So we give anticipatory guidance because we anticipate this. And we keep reassuring the parents while encouraging them to continue stimulating. And another obvious thing is that, they usually are able to understand language earlier than they can use it. And also they, if you have seen, they tend to use gestures more than typically developing children. So to develop this child, to develop expressive language in this child, we use this method called total communication approach, where we combine nonverbal communication, spoken language, and visual cues. This is usually a very successful method for developing functional communication in any child with delay. But when using this approach, we should, focus on using nonverbal communication simultaneously with spoken language. It is a must. And we also use augmentative communication options like alternative devices like communication books, pictures, and apps where the child is supported to communicate when these children have significant delays. Social development mostly occurs by observation and imitation. We can only improve their social skills if they are given the opportunity to experience different social situations, right? So selective reinforcement as well as peer and adult modeling could be used to support children to initiate social interaction. That is what they lack in the beginning. So we encourage the parents to enroll the kid in a preschool at an early age and then work on the required skills. We work on the required skills parallelly. And we maintain communication with the teachers. And sometimes we ask the parents to take video clips of the child hanging out with his friends so that we could give feedback to improve interaction. Temperaments and behaviors also go hand in hand with social development. Individuals with Down syndrome are commonly stereotyped as easy in temperament and very affectionate. But what we need to understand is that they too have individual personalities and they too can experience a wide range of feelings and emotions. Some behaviors which might be interpreted as temperaments could be related to other aspects of the child's development. For an example, I told you before as well, their receptive language is better than expressive language. So they can understand what we say, but they're not able to respond to us, right? So it makes them feel frustrated and that triggers behavior issues. And issues in sensory integration, restricted motor skills may also lead to atypical behavior patterns. We usually, if the problem is complex, we refer to the psychiatry unit. But if the problem is related to sensory integration, communication, we intervene at the clinic. So we combine directive and naturalistic approaches, and we identify appropriate reinforcement for individual child. And we frequently use visuals because these kids, they attend more to visual than auditory stimuli. And another thing that we do is we break complex tasks into smaller, simpler steps so that it is easier for them to learn. And adaptive and self-help skills are also part of social development. Having these skills is what makes the child more independent. So we talk to the parents about working on self-help skills from an earlier age and ask them to reinforce the importance of good self-care, like grooming, dressing, toileting, money handling, things like that. And developing of age-appropriate social skills and also giving them a sense of responsibility from an earlier age are often encouraged. So I'd like to give you an example of why multidisciplinary care is important. As clinicians, why should we give equal importance to all the other aspects of development? When we want to improve the communication skills of a child, we need to consider all these areas, among many other things. This is why I keep saying multidisciplinary teamwork, because without any of these professionals coming into support, the others will not be able to bring out the best in the child. And as a team, we usually share a great bond with each other so that we can always go to them for help when we want to modify a certain activity in our intervention plan. Then comes our biggest challenge, education, mainstream or special school. So this is one of my kids learning to identify letters at the age of 4.5 or 5. We started because he could, and he was very good in it. He even picked up English because the school that he was enrolled in, the single medium school, rejected him. So that parents, even without telling me, got him out of it and enrolled him at an international school. And like this, he picked up English. So there's actually a video where he tells me stories to go with each of these words. So we recommend and promote mainstream education with a range of support already in place. Some children are enrolled at special schools, possibly while attending a mainstream school. However, mainstream education with typically developing peers is their first step to the community, and that should never be taken away from them. There are more than enough examples in this country who have benefited from schooling like any other child. So we consider progress in learning and the appropriateness of school placement, and we review them regularly. And also we emphasize on pre-vocational skills because, we need to think of vocational skills later. Next, planning intervention. So the first thing is evidence-based practice. We never, sometimes these new strategies or activities which are evidence-based take time to reach us, to Sri Lanka. But we try as much as possible to keep away from outdated activities, interventions, and also interventions that have been proven as ineffective. And again, a combination of these approaches. And one thing that I want to stress here is parents should be involved in this intervention process so that they could understand the goals, objectives, methods, and they themselves can evaluate the progress at home and provide feedback to us. Because of that, we transfer our skills to parents by demonstrations, verbal instructions, supervised practice, and ongoing feedback. We also sometimes organize focus group discussions so that they are able to share their experiences and able to empower each other. Ongoing monitoring and modification of the intervention is essential because with the maturation of the child, the nature of intervention changes. So we monitor the child's progress and consider to continue, modify, or discontinue a specific intervention. And another thing that I want to tell you is about these alternative interventions. As professionals, we should be knowledgeable and open to discussion about alternative therapies, like art therapy, music therapy, dance therapy, drama therapy. The pros that I've personally observed in these activities are that they are really, really good for their social development. And some kids might find their strengths while trying out these activities. And also parents find a support system in other parents. But one thing we should understand is that stereotyping children as having certain strengths or weaknesses just because of the label we carry will do them more harm than good. So, transition into adolescence and adulthood. When a young person with challenges step into adolescence, sorry, I muted because of the train. So when a young person with challenges step into adolescence, we need to think about the individual's employment, independence, and psychological health, among many other things, right? So teenagers with Down syndrome have the same emotions as anyone else, but the ability to resolve or manage the conceptual reasoning required at this age could be limited. So their level of frustration is high. So we can discuss with them at the clinic and also refer them to the psychiatry unit for psychological support in relation to psychosexual development, the need for and the degree of supervision, and other mental health issues that may arise. Lastly, facilitating transfer to adult specialist medical care. So we can't keep the child with us forever, right? But transferring should be based on the best interests of this young person. Proper referrals will be made where we outline the ongoing medical needs, and we combine clinics that are often, we combine clinic, which is often helpful so that they have the time to build trust and confidence in the new team. The concern here is that at one of the most critical times in the life of this individual, he or she loses contact with a known long-term support system. We do not let go of our friends without putting our best efforts to empower the individual in their journey from clinic to the community. Before ending, I want to show you this. Since most of my kids are still small, we might need some time for a great success story. I'm sure Dr. Miranda must be having lots and lots of wonderful stories like this with her years of experience and service. But I like to share some photos of this beautiful girl, Sophia. I actually gained her permission for this. I emailed her and she kindly agreed. She's a Puerto Rican model, and she debuted at New York Fashion Week last year. And Christian in that green shirt is her partner, who is a famous baker in the same country. In that group photo we see, they are joined by a talented violinist and an athlete who also paints. So what I wanted to highlight here is that there are no limits if they are empowered to follow their passion. So that's all from this end.
So we now have Lishani Suriyampola, who is actually the current local committee vice president-elect for Outgoing Global Talent, and Lishani is also a past team leader of Project Beyond the Ability. So Lishani, we are really happy to have you with us here today. So could you start us off by giving us a brief introduction about Project Beyond the Ability, just a brief overview about the activities that are done under this project, and could you explain to us some of the events that we saw in that slideshow? So over to you, Lishani.
Yes, thank you for the amazing introduction, Minura. So hi everyone, I am Lishani and I was the team leader for Project Beyond the Ability, and these are like my last few weeks of being the team leader of Project Beyond the Ability. So what Project Beyond the Ability is it's actually like we usually get down volunteers from different countries to Sri Lanka. We get volunteers, like we get around 18 volunteers every 6 months, and we get them to go to Diri Daru Piyasa, which is Miss Miranda Hemalatha school. We get the volunteers to go there and we get them to teach the kids maths, English, and we get them to do aesthetics like singing, dancing, handwork, and little bit of needlework and all of that. So they do that for around 4 or 5 months, and then we end the term, like we end the project by organizing a grand concert, where the organizing committee and the volunteers will be organizing it, and the kids will get to, like, showcase their talents by singing, dancing, and acting, and whatever the talent that they have. If they have a talent in, like, playing an instrument, they can do that. So we like, have a platform for them to showcase their talents, and like just to, like, let everyone know that they are not different, they are rich with talents and all of that. Apart from that, we also organize fun days where we do little games, group activities, team tasks, and all of that for the kids, which is like, the kids have, like, the kids enjoy those sessions a lot. And apart from that, we have trips, maybe a trip to a zoo, or once they got to go to Gaul, so we organize a little trip. And then we also organize awareness sessions where, like, the volunteers teach at Diri Daru Piyasa, and then they go to other places and do, like, they get the exposure, right? They know how it is to work with kids with Down syndrome and autism. So they get to go to other places and spread awareness and all of that. So that is what usually happens in Project Beyond the Ability.
Thank you for that overview, Lishani. So could you tell us about some of the obstacles, that you face in organizing your events, and could you tell us how the COVID-19 pandemic really affected your project, and how you overcame the very unique obstacles that came your way because of the pandemic? So if you could tell us a bit about that.
Yes. So actually, when my term started, when my term as the team leader started, the COVID pandemic hit, and, like, we couldn't do the usual operations that we do. Lockdown happened, and then, like, we had an island-wide lockdown, and then just the central province was under curfew. I am actually from Kandy, so, like, there was a period where just the western province was locked down. But, like, when we had the island-wide lockdown, we actually couldn't do any operations. It was like none of us was expecting this, so it was quite hard for us to adapt in a month or two. But then with time, we thought of organizing a we thought of having a virtual volunteering platform where we still got volunteers, and, like, obviously they didn't get to do the physical interactions with the kids and all of that. But we first, like, we had a plan for that. We had what do you call it, the project went on for 30 days. So the first month we gave them an introduction. I had 18 volunteers to work with, so it was all virtual. And the first week we gave them enough knowledge. We, like, let them know what Down syndrome is, what autism is, what the project is all about, what we used to do, and what we are going to do this year, and all of that. And then the next week we had interviews with the resource people related to kids with Down syndrome and autism. So we had Miss Miranda Hemalatha. We had a resource person from a project called the Special Project, which is, like, they spread awareness about people with Down syndrome. And then we had an interview with a past team leader and a past volunteer of Project Beyond the Ability. And then, most importantly, we had a session with an interview with a parent of a child who was diagnosed with Down syndrome. And so we gave them enough knowledge. We, like, let them know what this is about, what the kids are like, and all of that. Like, we let them, like, we gave enough knowledge. And the next week, what we did was, I was in Kandy. I live in Kandy. So since there was a lockdown in the Western province, we couldn't come to Diri Daru Piyasa like we always do. But what we did was, since I was from Kandy, I got together with some other teammates, and we found another school in Kandy called Mahinda School for kids with special needs. So what we did was, we went to that school with all our laptops and all the things that we needed, all the equipment that we needed. And then we got the volunteers to join us virtually. And then we got them to teach. Like every day we had 4 sessions, one session for maths, one session for English, one for handwork, and one for cooking. So every day it was a 20-minute session. So we had 20 minutes for maths, 20 minutes for handwork, 20 minutes for English, and 20 minutes for cooking. And we gave the volunteers some time to, like, prepare and let us know what the lessons they're going to do and all of that. So they told us what they were doing, and we got ready with all the things that we need. Now for handwork, we need paper, scissors, gum, and all of that, chalk and color pencils and all of that. So we got ready with all of those. And even for cooking, one day, there was a day that we made sandwiches, and we made fruit salad, and we made smoothies, milkshake, and all of that. So we got ready with all those things that we have to, like, we have to, like, provide, we had to provide them. So we got the volunteers to join virtually. We gave, like, we had 18 volunteers, and we had 5 days of doing lessons. So we gave every volunteer a time slot to, like, do their lesson. And yeah, so the kids really enjoyed it. Like there were some days that the parents wanted to take the kids home a bit early, but they didn't want to go. It was interesting because they were also fascinated by the, like, the volunteers are foreigners, like, right? So they were a bit fascinated with the white skin and their accent, and they were so enthusiastic. Like after they do the handwork and whatever they made, like there were some days that we did origami as well. They had to make a watch. So they were so, like, enthusiastic, and they were, like, going in front of the camera and showing the volunteers what they made and all of that. And even the cooking session, it was sort of a new experience for them, because they don't usually do that in school. So yeah, it was a great, like, it was amazing. Although, like, we couldn't do the physical operations that one week, I enjoyed it a lot. And yes, so that's how we overcame the obstacle. Also, one more little thing to add to that. So, like, we have been working with Diri Daru Piyasa for around 8 years now, 7, 8 years. So we cannot forget Diri Daru Piyasa and Miss Miranda Hemalatha, right? So we really wanted to help Miss Miranda Hemalatha and the kids at Diri Daru Piyasa in some way. Although, like, we couldn't go there physically and teach the kids and work with the kids, we wanted to help them in some way. So what we decided to do was, like, we spoke with Miss Miranda Hemalatha, and we, like, got to know what they actually need. And there was this hostel which didn't actually have a roof. The building was almost done, but the roof was not complete. So they wanted help with that. So we Miss Miranda Hemalatha had raised already a part of that fund, and we got together as an organizing committee, and we helped them raise the remaining amount of money. And it is almost done, and it's almost done as in, like, we managed to raise the entire amount. And we have fixed a date also to, like, do the donation officially. But like, I will be, like, we just have to do some adjustments, so, like, that also will be done very soon. So as the organizing committee of Project Beyond the Ability, this year, since we couldn't do the physical operations, we thought of doing a donation we thought of raising funds and doing a donation to build the roof of the hostel at Diri Daru Piyasa.
Thank you, Lishani. That was very informative, and thank you for joining us this evening. And just to finish things off, what final message do you have for us as the youth who are interested in helping out our own brothers and sisters, albeit they may be differently abled? So, if you could share a few words about what we can do as the youth. And just a few final remarks, Lishani.
Yeah, so what I think that we can do is not to, like, corner them, or not to see them as different people, because they are not really different. It's just an extra chromosome. Having something extra is not bad, right? It's always good to have something extra. So what I have to say is, like, look at them as normal people and give them a helping hand, and always, like, just appreciate and be grateful for what you have, and appreciate the talents of the kids with Down syndrome and autism, and like give them a helping hand as much as possible, because they are not, like, we cannot say that they are not capable of doing anything. They are capable of doing like everything that we do, but they just need an extra push. So always give them that extra push. So like, this world will always obviously be a better place, because it's always a better place when there are different people. And yeah, diversity makes it amazing, like nice and beautiful.
Thank you so much, Lishani. That was a really beautiful message. And with those parting words, the fact that diversity makes the world more beautiful, I would now like to move on to our third speaker for the evening. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome Madam Miranda Hemalatha, who is a renowned Sri Lankan dancer and dance choreographer, whose work has been instrumental in preserving the ancient dance culture and dance tradition of our country. So Madam Miranda is a philanthropist, and she was the founder of the Diri Daru Piyasa, which is also known as the Miranda Hemalatha Kala Ashramaya, which is an institution which is dedicated towards the education and empowerment of children with Down syndrome. So now we would like to invite Madam Miranda to take the floor. So Madam Miranda.
Yes. How are you?
Yes, I'm
Good
fine, madam.
evening.
Good evening, madam. So, madam, my first question for you today is, could you tell us a bit about Diri Daru Piyasa, a bit about your institution, and just tell us about how the institution was established and why you decided to establish the Diri Daru Piyasa?
Okay, I really got two Down syndrome children to my normal primary private dance class. And when they came, the parents said, no, the dance teacher wanted to take these two children. I thought they are a good case for me to do a good experiment. I accepted them. And they were there with me for 6 months, doing nothing. They were just seated. After 6 months, they got friendly with us, and I did another special thing. I got the normal children to love them and get closer to them. Then after 6 months, they became friends. And these two children also joined the class. And after 4 years of working together, I must tell you, I'm not teaching traditional dancing to these children, not even to primary children. It's very bad for, there are lots of other consequences. I teach them creative dance, which develops the creative thinking of the children. So they create, I play songs and they create their dance. And after some time, after 4 years, I realized that I could put up a show with these two children. So I put up a show in 2004 at BMICH, and that created sensation. The next day, press was full of information and, about this show, and thousands of parents came to my house saying, please help our children also. So I was compelled to start something. I took 100 children, which I couldn't avoid. So I took 100 children and started, but my house was not enough. So what happened was, I decided to go to another place, and then that place was also not very good. Then we got a land as a donation. We put up a shed, and in that shed, we started working everything, writing, dancing, everything. And I must tell you that we are not teaching dancing. We are doing only creative movement. And for this creative movement, when we did creative movement, we did that they could coordinate eye and hand and various parts of the body. They knew up and down. We didn't need to explain. When they knew up and down, side, flow, various things they learned like that. And then we use that knowledge to start teaching language and other subjects. After, when they did this show, people were really got worked up that these children could be taught something. After that, we started in the shed, reading, writing, sewing, cooking, painting, carpentry, most of the subjects, because we realized each child is excelling in one subjects, but one subject they are better. So we thought best thing is to develop that the child who is very good in the one subject as a specialist, and teach the other things as just normal subjects. Most of our children could read, write, and we have to develop two teachers. Two girls are teaching in two schools, and some they can do carpentry. Actually, in one of our buildings, all the windows and doors were done by these children. This shows that we could develop these children to be nearly normal, if we can't do it normal. But among the normal children also, there are abnormal to some children who are to some extent abnormal. So we don't need to feel bad. We use a lot of special methods. I was working in the primary curriculum committee, and we used to write special lessons for backward children, problem children. Now I use those methods with my, I have few very well-trained teachers who are well committed. They didn't come for money. They really came because they were so taken with this program. And I say, don't sympathize with these children. They don't need your sympathy, but they need your love, affection, acceptance, that kind of thing. So our clientele is, most of them are from the families who don't have 3 meals a day. We started giving free meals. Morning, lunch, and afternoon we give a good meal to substitute their poor dinner. With that, they started developing, in physically as well as mentally, getting good food. We gave a cup of milk, right there. Of course, all donations. I must say, we had no money. We got all donations, and when we gave good food, they started doing better. We have, they play cricket. We have a musician who comes to us to teach not music therapy, which develops their speech. Music and speech both need production of sound, control of sound, and focusing and that kind of thing, or same thing. So we use music for speech, as speech therapy, so that they could pronounce better, because they love to sing. And we selected certain songs which help them in this issue, our aim. And painting. Most of our children could paint, do fabric paint. And making of different kinds of doormats, quite a lot of different jewelry. There are children who could do cross-stitch. 100 normal children, not even 10 could do cross-stitch. But there are children who could do cross-stitch. So once these things, at the moment, what we do is, our aim is to develop who could contribute for the development of the being beggars. And we never allow anyone to humiliate or insult. We always embrace them. We show a lot of affection, and my teachers team, they are really good. And we have every month parents meeting. We are not educating only the children. From the beginning, with the cases, the children can't be developed because the depression of the parents. They are so depressed. And at the moment, when we started at this place where we got as a donation at Kidalpitiya, we got a team of specialist doctors from Panagura Base Hospital. They come once a week and treat these children, psychiatrists, and indifferent. And not only the children, the parents who needed treatment for depression and psychiatric problems. So that way also we looked into this situation. And also we get another team of Ayurvedic doctors who give a lot of oil and lot of things which does a lot of good. So the health is very well looked after. Food very well looked after. And we give them pen, pencil, even the pin we give them, everything. There's nothing that they have to bring from home. And if they don't have dresses, we give dresses. But remember, all these things are donations from sometimes poor people, not only rich, even the poor people, when they see these children work, they give something to us. So we are going on like that. And now we get whatever they produce, we start selling. And I know if I say we are making children to craving for money, it's bad. But in this case, it is good. We started giving, whatever we sell, we give the money, some part of the money to the child. And they save. So when we ask, why do you want to save? They say, we want to buy a house to live, or we want to buy a motorcycle, something like that. But they save this money.
I believe Madam Miranda is having a few technical difficulties, so we will wait for a few moments till she joins us back again.
I couldn't hear.
Yes, Madam, you can continue. Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Yes, Madam, we can hear you now. You can talk now. Yes. Actually, so Madam, okay, Madam, were you going to say something?
Excuse.
Yes, sorry.
I want to thank for sending that group. They learned English and they taught Sinhalese to the foreign girls. So that was also a very interesting situation. AIESEC group who came to our institute, they did a very good job by teaching English to our children. And when you say thank you, immediately they say welcome. That kind of thing they could do. But I couldn't. Did you ask me another question?
Yes, Madam. I was just wanted to ask you for a few success stories, Madam. And I think we are also reaching the end of our allocated time as well. So, Madam, you have spent so many years helping children over decades. So, what are some of the success stories that you have seen, like children who have learned from you, from your institution, and are now responsible professionals? Yes, Madam.
There are two teachers. There are two teachers who are paid as other teachers. working in 2 schools. Most of them are, they can now work on their own and earn their living. Like boys, all boys are taught carpentry. So most of them can do carpentry, then making doormats and various other things. You know, some cases we thought they should not go out for jobs. They should stay at home and work. So we have taught certain things where they work at home. And especially like painting, painting pillowcases, that kind of thing. There are various kinds of crafts that we are doing, which they could do at home and earn money. They, at least for their own living. So we feel, we are really feeling happy that we are doing a service where these children will never be able to and never will want to beg in the streets. They could earn something and live at home. Even when we have another small program where when the parents die, now if there is no one to look after, we have to think of that, no? So now we have a program on Saturdays and Sundays. They should get friendly with either their own family member or else a friend. They should go to the temple, they should go for art, they should go on a trip and become so close that that child will look after this child, because this child could be an asset to a family. Staying at home, can cook, can do cleaning, even toilet cleaning we teach. Cleaning, that kind of thing, so that this child could be an asset to that family. So this friend will look after this child without allowing this child to go to the streets, even if the parents die. That's another small program that we are doing.
Thank you so much, madam. I think you gave us such a brilliant overview about what your institution does. And indeed, we are really thankful for all the service that you have done for these children. And they are certainly an undermined population. We also thank you for giving us the opportunity to volunteer at your institution as well. We thank you for being with us here today, madam, for spending your time raising awareness about this condition, especially amongst us from the University of Colombo. So thank you so much, Miranda, madam, and we hope to have you in a future event as well. So thank you.
Thank you very much.